Let's strip away the illusion. Failure is not your enemy. It's not a wall. It's not a curse. It's not the end of the road. Failure, when understood correctly, is the most loyal teacher you will ever have. It doesn't flatter you. It doesn't sugarcoat. It doesn't care about your ego. But it always tells the truth. And if you listen closely, failure will give you something success never could. Clarity. See, when things fall apart, when the plan doesn't work, when the deal collapses, when the opportunity vanishes, what's left is reality. Your beliefs get tested. Your discipline gets exposed. Your assumptions are laid bare. And in that moment, you're handed a choice: to shrink from the lesson or to profit from the pain. The greatest achievers in history, they didn't avoid failure, they multiplied from it. They studied it. They grew through it. They used it as data, not as defeat. They understood this timeless truth. Failure is feedback. Nothing more, nothing less. It's a signal, a message, a mirror showing you where the cracks are in your thinking, your planning, your approach. But the weak man takes it personally. He wears it like shame. He says, "I failed, so I must be a failure." No, my friend, you are not your result. You are not your worst day. You are not defined by a single season of loss. What matters is not that you fell, but what you do next. The road to success is paved with scraped knees, broken pride, and painful pivots. If you're not failing at something, you're not pushing hard enough. You're not stretching. You're not growing. You're playing safe, and safe never built empires. So when failure shows up, don't panic. Pause. Ask the question that turns loss into leverage. What is this trying to teach me? Ask it with sincerity. Ask it with courage. Ask it over and over until the answer is clear. Because that answer, that's gold. That's the treasure buried under the rubble of your broken plan. Failure doesn't stop the worthy, it refines them. It burns off the inessential. It forces reinvention. And it sharpens your mind like nothing else. So welcome it. Learn from it. Profit from it. Because it's not the enemy you've been taught to fear. It's the coach you've been needing all along. Let me be clear. Failure is not reserved for the weak or the foolish. It visits the best of use, especially the best of us. Because only those who dare greatly risk falling deeply. But here's the secret the world won't always tell you. Every failure carries within it the seed of an equal or greater success. You've heard that before. Maybe it sounded like a nice quote on a poster. But I'm here to tell you, it's not just a phrase. It's a principle. And once you understand how to extract the seed, failure becomes your training ground, not your tombstone. So how do we profit from failure? First, count it. Don't hide it. Don't shift the blame. Don't decorate it with excuses. Call it what it is. Say, yes, I tried, I missed, I fell short. There is more power in honest failure than in false perfection. The moment you own your failure, it loses its grip. It stops haunting you and starts teaching you. Second, analyze it. What exactly went wrong? Was it timing, preparation, communication, pride? Did you ignore warning signs? Did you trust the wrong person? Did you move too fast or wait too long? Failure is full of detail if you're willing to investigate without emotion. And that's the key. Don't make it about your worth. Make it about your process. You're not here to protect your ego. You're here to evolve. And evolution requires discomfort. Next, record it. Yes, write it down. Start a failure journal. Not to dwell, but to document the truth so you can return to it later, after the sting has faded and the wisdom has settled. You'd be amazed how many entrepreneurs, leaders, creators, they don't just remember their failures. They study them like sacred texts. Because when you see patterns, you gain power. When you can say, this is just like last time, except now I know what to do, you've turned failure into foresight. Then apply it. What good is insight if you don't act on it? The man who fails, reflects, and repeats the same mistake is not failing. He is choosing ignorance. But the one who fails, reflects, and adapts, he becomes unstoppable. Because now he's not just working with effort, he's working with intelligence. He's no longer gambling, he's calculating. That's the difference between people who get stuck in cycles of defeat and those who transform failure into a launching pad. So if you failed and you will, don't bury it, build with it. Turn your breakdown into a blueprint and let the world marvel when you rise again, wiser, sharper, and far more dangerous than before. Let me ask you something. When did we start treating failure like a disease? Who taught us that one wrong move, one bad outcome, meant we were broken? I'll tell you who. A society obsessed with perfection. A culture that celebrates the finish line but hides the bruises it took to get there. But here's the truth they won't broadcast. Every success story you admire is built on a foundation of failure. Yes, every one. The inventors, the entrepreneurs, the artists, the leaders, they all stumbled, fell, and looked foolish at some point. They lost money. They lost face. They lost hope briefly. But they refused to stay down because they knew something most people forget. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of success. It is the tuition you pay for greatness. It is the test before the breakthrough. It is the fire that forges resilience. You want to be extraordinary? Then expect to fail extra, because the more you try, the more you'll fall. But also, the more you'll learn, adjust, and rise. But only if you keep moving. You see, most people don't actually fail, they quit too early. They mistake temporary defeat for permanent destruction. They feel the sting of embarrassment, the weight of disappointment, and they throw in the towel just before the tide turns. Don't be that person. Understand that failure is feedback from the universe saying, "You're close, but not yet." Refine your approach. Grow in this area. Fix what's fragile. Build what's missing. It's not a stop sign, it's a detour. It's not a dead end, it's a recalibration. And the moment you stop fearing it, the moment you lean into it, you unlock a power few ever access. The power of fearless momentum. You become unshakable. You start showing up with a different energy. Because now, failure doesn't scare you, it serves you. It sharpens your instincts. It humbles your ego. It stretches your vision. And above all, it makes you earn your success. And what's earned is always valued. What's earned is never easily lost. What's earned sticks. So stop seeing failure as a step backward. See it for what it is, your greatest partner in progress. And when it comes, greet it not with dread, but with gratitude. Because that, my friend, is how champions are made. Let's talk about the most dangerous response to failure. It's not fear. It's not anger. It's not even shame. It's avoidance. When failure knocks and you pretend it didn't happen, when you bury the evidence, shift the blame, or run to the next distraction, you rob yourself of growth. You delay your evolution. You trade a breakthrough for comfort. Avoidance is the silent killer of potential. It may protect your pride in the short term, but in the long run, it steals your power. Why? Because the wisdom you need most is often hiding behind your last mistake. Avoidance keeps you stuck. But engagement, intentional reflection, courageous review, that's what leads to progress. You must become the kind of person who can look failure in the eye and say, "All right, let's talk." Ask the uncomfortable questions. What role did I play? What assumptions did I make? What warning signs did I ignore? When you get radically honest with yourself, you stop being a victim of circumstance and become an architect of wisdom. Now let's add another piece to the puzzle, the concept of fail forward. Failing forward means that every stumble still moves you toward your purpose. It means your mistakes are directional, not destructive. They guide you. They inform you. They teach you things success never could. You didn't waste time, you gathered insight. You didn't blow the opportunity, you discovered how not to do it. You didn't fall behind, you earned experience credits the world can't take away. That's the mental reframe that separates those who rise from those who retreat. So many people ask, how do I stay motivated after I've failed? The answer? You stop chasing perfection and start chasing progress. You shift the goal from never fail again to fail smarter every time. And the moment you adopt that mindset, something shifts deep inside you. Suddenly, you're not so afraid of trying. You take the shot. You speak the truth. You make the pitch. You step into the unknown. Because now, you know, even if it doesn't go perfectly, you've already won. You've grown. You've learned. You've added strength to your story. And believe me, the world doesn't need more perfect people. It needs more resilient ones. So be one of them. Let your failures become your fuel. Let your missteps become your momentum. Let your setbacks build your structure, not your story of defeat. Because you're not here to play small. You're here to build something that lasts, and failure, used correctly, will help you build it better than you ever imagined. There's a strange thing that happens when you truly embrace failure. You stop flinching at the idea of what if it doesn't work, and you start asking a more powerful question. What will I learn either way? Because once you realize that both success and failure move you forward, you become a different kind of force. A force that's immune to temporary defeat. A force that's not desperate for applause. A force that understands the process itself is the prize. Let's be honest. Most people aren't failing because they're aiming too high. They're failing because they're afraid to aim at all. They stay frozen in preparation mode, waiting for the perfect plan, the perfect timing, the perfect guarantee. But success doesn't come from perfection. It comes from iteration. Try, miss, adjust, repeat. Failure is a byproduct of action, and action, imperfect as it is, will always outrun hesitation. Now, let's take this deeper. One of the greatest uses of failure is this. It reveals the truth about who you are, not who you pretend to be on the good days, not who you wish you were when things are smooth, but who you are when everything goes sideways. Do you crumble under pressure or do you adapt? Do you blame others or take responsibility? Do you spiral in self-pity or get back in the fight? Failure reveals character, and character is the foundation of every great legacy. So don't be afraid of who you become when you fail. Be interested in it. Be curious about it. Because that version of you, the one facing the Furies, the one being forged for real success. Let me also say this. Sometimes failure comes not because you were wrong, but because the season was wrong. You were prepared, you showed up, you gave your best. But the market shifted, the door closed, the people didn't see what you saw. That doesn't mean you failed. It means the time wasn't right yet. And if you take the lessons with you, you'll be even more ready the next time that opportunity comes around. But you only get that second shot if you stay in the game. That's what separates winners from the wounded. Not talent, not luck, resilience. Resilience says, I don't need it to be easy. I just need it to be possible. Resilience picks up the pieces and builds again. Resilience looks failure in the face and says, you're not bigger than my purpose. So if you failed recently, good. You're in motion. You're alive. You're growing. Don't waste time mourning what didn't work. Start mining it for wisdom. And then get back to building stronger, smarter, and more focused than ever. There is a phrase I want burned into your memory. Every adversity carries within it the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit. This is not poetic fluff. It is a working principle, one that will reshape how you live, how you lead, how you endure. Failure is not final. It is formative. It shapes you. It grinds away the weak edges of your thinking. It polishes your decision-making. It upgrades your emotional discipline. But only if you let it. Too many people rush past failure. They treat it like a hot stove, touch, scream, retreat. But the ones who rise, the ones who last don't just touch the stove. They study it. They learn the why, the when, the how. And next time, they build fireproof systems. Let's go even deeper. Failure reveals your blind spots. And blind spots are dangerous. Not because you're weak, but because you don't know what you don't know. And what you don't know can sink the ship. That's why failure is so precious. It points out where you were blind, arrogant, misinformed, or unprepared. But here's the thing. Most people don't want that kind of feedback. They want to win. They want applause. They want comfort. And in doing so, they dodge the very thing that would have made them undeniable. Let me give it to you straight. You don't grow from victory. You grow from exposure. exposure to pressure, exposure to disappointment, exposure to discomfort. That's where the soul gets stronger. That's where the vision gets clearer. That's where greatness is forged. Now, don't get me wrong, victory feels good. We all love a win. But if you study the world's most successful individuals, you'll find they don't fear failure. They plan for it. They know failure will come, so they decide in advance what they'll do when it does. They build routines. They keep journals. They surround themselves with truth tellers, not cheerleaders. They make failure part of the process, not a reason to pause, but a signal to pivot. Can you do the same? Can you stop worshiping comfort long enough to listen to correction? Can you hold your own ego gently enough to let it evolve? Can you look at a failed launch, a broken plan, or a missed target and say, "Thank you, now I know better"? Because if you can do that, you become unshakable. You become the rare breed who learns faster, adapts stronger, and rebounds quicker than anyone else around you. And that, my friend, is how you build a legacy no failure can erase. Let's clear something up. Failure doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're bold enough to try. And that puts you ahead of most people already. Because the masses, they avoid failure at all costs. They walk the safe path, hide behind small goals, and measure their life by how little they've risked. But greatness doesn't live in safety. It lives in courage. It lives in action. It lives in the willingness to get knocked down and get back up smarter. Now, let me ask you something. What if failure wasn't a setback, but a signal? What if your last failure was life whispering, "You're close, but there's a better way"? Would you still hate it? Or would you lean in and listen? See, the most successful people don't just accept failure, they go looking for it. They test things. They push boundaries. They try what hasn't been done. And yes, they fall. But they also learn exactly where their edge is. They gain insight that no textbook, no mentor, no strategy could ever teach them. That's the difference. They use failure as a tool, not a sentence. They know that failure is not about losing the game. It's about learning how it's really played. Now here's a practical shift. Next time you fail, don't just ask, "What went wrong?" Ask, "What did I just learn about myself? What did I learn about the people I trusted? What did I learn about the market, the timing, the message?" You'll find that failure didn't close the door. It opened a better one. But you only see that if you stay curious. If you stay engaged, if you let go of pride and grab hold of perspective. Let's go further. The person who fails and hides will always fear it. But the person who fails and shares it, they free themselves and others. You want influence? You want impact? Then be real about what didn't work. Tell your story. Own your mess. Be the voice that says, "Yes, I fell, but look at how I rose." That's how you become relatable. That's how you become magnetic. People don't follow perfection. They follow resilience. And resilience is only born in the fires of failure. So don't resist the flames. Don't run from the pain. Let it refine you. Because if you keep showing up, keep learning, keep adjusting, your next chapter won't just be better. It'll be bulletproof. Now let's talk about how failure rewires your thinking if you let it. When you fail, you get humbled. And humility is not weakness. It's clarity. It clears the fog of ego. It teaches you to listen deeper, prepare better, and respect the process. The arrogant man refuses to fail. The wise man expects I-tand, uses it as a mirror. Let me tell you something powerful. Failure forces you to stop lying to yourself. It shows you where your habits are lazy, where your discipline is shallow, where your ambition outpaces your execution. It puts the truth in front of your face, without makeup, without polish. And yes, it stings. But truth always stings before it heals. So what do? We embrace the sting. Because the moment we stop running from the discomfort of failure, we begin running toward the strength it builds. That strength, it's called mental toughness. And it's the most underrated asset in the world today. The world will always reward talent, but it respects grit. You don't need to be the smartest. You don't need to be the fastest. You just need to be the one who doesn't quit when the storm hits. You need to be the one who says, I'll take the hit, I'll learn from it, and I'll rise harder. That's how leaders are made. Now listen to this, because it matters. Failure doesn't just teach you about your craft, it teaches you about your calling. When you fail at something and still want to do it again, that's a sign. That's purpose. That's alignment. Failure burns away the fake ambition, the stuff you only chased for status or applause. And what's left? Your real mission. The thing you can't walk away from, even when it hurts. So don't curse the failure that stripped you of illusions. Thank it. It cleared the path. It made your next move true. And here's the final truth for today. You are not your failures. You are not the lost deal, the bad launch, the breakup, the closed door. You are the person who walked through it. You are the one who faced it, learned from it, and kept building. That's who you are, and that's who the world remembers. So carry your scars with pride. They mean you're alive. They mean you tried. And most of all, they mean you're not done yet. Now, let's address one of the greatest lies ever sold. That failure is a sign you're not good enough. Let me tell you something loud and clear. Failure is not proof that you can't. It's proof that you're trying something worth doing. If you've never failed, you've never stretched. You've never taken a real risk. You've never stepped into unfamiliar territory. And guess what? No legacy was ever built in the comfort zone. Think about every great inventor, artist, or entrepreneur you admire. Behind every success is a graveyard of failures the world never saw. But they happened, and they mattered, because each one carved away what didn't work. Each one refined the method, sharpened the vision, and deepened the hunger. You know what failure really is? It's the tuition you pay for wisdom. And like any tuition, it's expensive, but it pays off for a lifetime. But here's the real magic. Failure doesn't just teach you. It qualifies you. You heard me. It proves you're in the arena. It proves you have skin in the game. It proves you care enough to risk embarrassment, loss, rejection. Most people won't do that. They'll play small, stay safe, and criticize from the sidelines. But not you. Because you understand that the world belongs to the doers, not the watchers. The finish line belongs to those willing to fall a dozen times and stand up a 13th stronger, smarter, bolder. Now let's get tactical. Every time you fail, you need a recovery ritual. A moment of reflection, not reaction. Ask, what part of this was in my control? What did I overlook? What can I do differently next time? And then move. Don't dwell, don't spiral, don't wait for motivation. Get back in motion, because action is the antidote to shame. And movement rebuilds momentum. The longer you stay down, the heavier failure feels. But the moment you rise, the weight shifts. You stop carrying it, and you start using it. Using it to fuel discipline. Using it to spark clarity. Using it to build a version of you who doesn't just survive setbacks, but profits from them. That's how success is forged. That's how leaders emerge. And that's how you build a life that's not just impressive, but indestructible. Let's finish this chapter with a shift in identity. Because the ultimate benefit of failure isn't just the lesson you gain, it's the person you become because of it. You started this journey chasing success, but through every failure, every detour, every painful realization, you were building something far more valuable than any goal. You were building you, the you who can adapt, the you who doesn't run from hard truths, the you who looks at rejection, at disappointment, at breakdown and says, this isn't the end of me. It's the refining of me. That mindset is rare. But it's what separates the ones who wish for success from the ones who create it. And you want to know the beautiful part? Once you've failed and recovered, you become a light for others who are still in the dark. Your failure becomes a bridge, a story that says, you can come through this too. Because there's someone out there right now, paralyzed by their mistake, drowning in regret, thinking they're the only one who's ever fallen this hard. And your voice, your journey might be the one that pulls them up. So don't hide your failures. Don't bury your process. Honor it. Document it. Share it. Use it. Because when you speak from scars instead of wounds, You become a beacon of hope and truth. You become what this world desperately needs, a human being who didn't just chase success, but earned it through grit, growth, and grace. And as we close this chapter, remember this. You are not here to be flawless. You are here to be fearless. You are not defined by the fall. You are defined by the rise. So fall forward. Fail wisely. And never stop building the version of you who can withstand anything. Because in the end, failure was never the enemy. It was your most honest teacher, your sharpest chisel, your unlikeliest ally. And now you're ready, not just to chase success, but to command it.